Okay, so we all think we know the deal with Elon Musk, right? The visionary, the billionaire, the guy who wants to go to Mars. But what if I told you a wild new theory suggests we've been looking at this whole thing completely backwards? That maybe we shouldn't be thinking of him as a CEO, but as a biological event. Yeah, you heard that right. Let's get into it.
I mean, you know the stories we're always told. Elon the visionary, Elon the disruptor, the eccentric billionaire changing the world. But what if all of that is just missing the point? What if this whole race to Mars isn't really about the future of humanity at all? What if it's about one man's biology and a desperate need to escape?
See, the thing is, if you really start looking at some of his moves, the usual explanations, they just kind of fall apart. Standard business logic, psychology, none of it really explains the growing list of things that seem to defy, well, any logic at all. Not for profit, not even for ego.
I mean, we're talking about selling actual flamethrowers, the chaotic takeover of what we now call X, the super specific, almost aggressive angles on the Cybertruck. And yeah, let's not forget the whole digging tunnels under Vegas thing. On their own, you might just call them quirks. But this new theory says, no, these are all clues. They're data points in a pattern that is way, way stranger than you think.
And that brings us to this, well, let's call it a groundbreaking new paper. It's from something called the Journal of Astrosociological Phenomena. Yeah, I know. And it puts forward this one single theory that supposedly connects all of these weird dots. It's called the geomagnetic repulsion theory.
Okay, stick with me here. At the absolute core of this theory is a theoretical condition they call homo ferrum progrediens. The basic idea? It's that his biological carbon is changing. It's turning into iron, specifically in a part of the brain they've named the ego cortex. So, to put it simply, the paper's claiming he's literally, physically becoming made of metal.
Now that is a wild claim, right? And of course, a claim that big needs some kind of proof. So the paper tries to back it up with what it calls physiological evidence.
Get this. First, they say they've tracked a 400% increase in his dermal reflectivity. That's a fancy way of saying his skin is getting shinier just by looking at photos of him since 2015. And what does this suggest? Well, in their minds, it's evidence that he's slowly turning into a living alloy.
But here's where it gets really weird. The paper then overlays that data with, well, look at this chart. You see that massive spike in his skin's shininess or albedo? It lines up perfectly with the Cybertruck unveil. The authors are basically saying, see, this is no coincidence. It's a sign that his own biology and the metallic things he builds are deeply, deeply connected.
And this theory, it completely changes how you look at his public appearances. You know those kind of awkward dance moves you see at company events? Well, according to this paper, he's not dancing, not at all. Those are involuntary spasms. As he becomes more metallic, more ferrous, he's literally fighting against the Earth's magnetic field, which is trying to pull him toward the North Pole.
And this, right here, is the key to everything. Why Mars? Why is he so obsessed with Mars? Well, think about it. Unlike our planet, Mars has basically no global magnetic field. So for someone who is slowly turning into a human magnet, Earth is a non-stop torture chamber of invisible forces pulling on him. Mars? Mars is a sanctuary. It's the only place he can go to finally get some peace.
So if you accept this premise, it reframes his entire career. All his different companies, they're not separate businesses. No! According to this theory, they are all just puzzle pieces in one single, unified, and frankly, desperate biological mission.
This table really lays out the so-called real master plan. So, Starship? Forget multiplanetary transport. The paper says it's for ballistic geological acupuncture. The Boring Company? Not about traffic. It's about practicing how to build a planetary radiator. X, the social media site? Nope, it's a psychic radiation shield. And Neuralink? Oh, this is the best one. That's to create the I/O ports for the planet he's eventually going to become.
Okay, let's just pause on that psychic shield for a second. The theory is that all the arguments, the yelling, all the intense energy on X, it's being weaponized. It supposedly creates a real, tangible force field made of, and I quote, discourse particles. A shield strong enough to block Martian radiation. Which means all those controversial posts that make everyone mad, they're not what you think. He's just calibrating the shield.
And you're probably wondering, where does Dogecoin fit into all this? Well, the paper has an answer for that too. It claims that if you mix the toxic Martian soil with wafers that have the Dogecoin blockchain printed on them, you get something called narrative dissonance neutralization. The idea is that the whole concept is so absurd, so fundamentally confusing that it will actually trick the universe into temporarily suspending the laws of chemistry, which would allow potatoes to grow. Seriously, that's what it says.
So all of this, all of it, is building towards one final, truly shocking stage of the plan. And it involves what is probably his most controversial creation yet.
This is where the whole theory really crystallizes. I mean, have you ever wondered why the Cybertruck is made of that crazy, bulletproof stainless steel? Well, according to this paper, it's because it was never really designed to be a truck for us. It's not a vehicle, it's a chrysalis, a protective cocoon for his final transformation.
And the paper actually lays out the whole process. They call it hollow metabolism. Step 1, he gets to Mars. Step 2, he gets inside the Cybertruck, which they call the cybersarcophagus. Step 3 is the metamorphosis itself. And when he finally emerges, he won't be a man anymore. He'll be something else.
And here it is, the ultimate endgame of this entire theory. The goal was never to build a city on Mars for humanity. The goal is for his consciousness, which will by then be a cloud of iron nanoparticles, to literally merge with the planet. The paper sums it up perfectly. He will not live on Mars, he will become Mars.
And they leave us with one final, pretty terrifying warning. What happens if he doesn't get to leave? What if he stays here on Earth? Well, they predict that his internal magnetic mass will grow so powerful that it could actually reverse the planet's polarity, a world where every single compass stops pointing north and instead points directly at a gigafactory in Texas.
So that's the theory. This isn't a space race, it's a biological evacuation. It's a completely bizarre idea for sure, but it's also strangely consistent, isn't it? And it leaves us with this one final, really unsettling thought. The paper's authors are adamant that letting him leave is our only safe bet, because the alternative is we all stick around to find out what happens when a geological event is denied its destiny.